Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with another Snowflakes talk. And today, guys, I want to introduce you to a very special guest here. A good friend of mine, actually, that I've come to know here on the channel. And some of you guys may have seen him lurking around and about, not just here, but also on the Discord community. This here is Richard, also known as Number 3. Richard, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. Thank you.
Guys, just let us know about the mic volume. We have been trying to sort out the audio on his end, so just let me know, guys, what his volume level is, and I'll try and adjust it on mine as best as I possibly can. So Richard, tell us a little bit about you and a bit about your channel, if you don't mind, for us.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess my channel started a few years ago, and it took me a long time to get there. I mean, previously, my partner, Marion, died in 2018, and that was about the beginning of Brexit. I needed something to do, so I was busy watching YouTube all day. And I found Phil Morehouse quite early on. Became one of his subscribers quite early on, and eventually I did start my own channel, but that was a long time later, about 2 years ago, I think, 3 years maybe.
Yeah.
Not been long. And yeah, I perhaps kind of a bit strange. I'm not really that bothered about particular news events so much usually, as more the structural issues, the long-term drives that govern our society, and the kind of mental, drives, the kind of beliefs that people have. It's quite strong stuff. It really is. So,
is it fair to say, like the like policies that can have the long-term effects on people, rather than just short-term fixes, policies and decisions that are made that can have longer-lasting effects on society, shall we say? Is that fair assessment, maybe?
Not just the policy, the actual way the policy is actually made, and actually the actual structure of Parliament. Because I think the current party system, I think, is bonkers. It's just inherently divisive. You build up a system which is always combative, always one gang fighting another gang, or come and join my gang, and it's charges, utterly charged behaviour.
I love how you put it in the way of gangs.
Well, it is.
To be fair, there's pretty way of doing it, because Boris Johnson did come across like he was the godfather or something, wasn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. And Gove, all these people. But the point is,
go on.
the point is, because it's a systemic failure. You keep getting these people, these plonkers who think they know things, and the attorneys don't know science at all. They know nothing about science, absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
science does get taught there, but it's for geeks, not the people, not the leaders. And it's appalling, really, just how bad it all is. People just don't see it. And I've been kind of complaining about this all my life. That and cannabis law, that too. I've been studying for that and human rights for a long time, since my 20s. Yeah.
So have you been into politics pretty much all your life, really? Is it fair to say, or?
Active, yes, activist. In the 90s, I used to belong to a lobby group called Results, which was about generating a bit of a mouthful, generating the political will to end hunger and poverty.
Oh,
and the idea is we get meetings together and learn about the various issues, and then write to our MPs in our own words. But it's still organised and orchestrated to the extent of actually having 10 letters to the MP on one subject. So it's a bit kind of not really democratic, but so I left at the end for that reason. But it was quite interesting. I met MPs and wrote to MPs and got a kind of education in politics that way.
So it's kind of it was from that, really. But did you always pretty much always keep your ear to the ground in what was going on in the political landscape? And did you ever consider yourself like somebody who was like loyalty to or been like always a voter for a certain party, or was it always basically you voted in whatever the situation?
Well, no, I mean, actually wondering when did I vote? What did I vote? I can't remember. I don't think I voted much at all for a long time.
Did you vote the last election?
No, I didn't. I tried to get a postal vote. I tried to get a postal vote, and it fell through.
You had a postal vote issue as well. Oh,
yeah. So that I think I was. What was I? Yeah, it didn't work.
What did you know who you were gonna? Do you want to share with us like who you were gonna vote for, where you were, or?
That's the last one. Sorry, yeah, okay. The last one just gone.
Yes. Did you know who you were going to vote for?
Last one just gone. I had the luxury of spoiling my ballot paper, which people don't like, but it is counted. The spoiled ballot papers are counted. Not well publicised, but they are counted.
Yeah,
and it's basically a vote for I don't like the system, so none of the above. And even the Green Party, I'm most aligned to the Green Party, but it's a party, and I just can't stand the. I've been tempted. I just can't live with that. So I don't. It's perhaps extreme, perhaps puritanical, but that's the way I am.
Is it fair to say that obviously, given that, have you always you've always been kind of in and out of when it comes to voting, but have you, when it comes to it, do you feel that throughout most of your life that you've looked at politics and seen all these political parties and politicians somewhat the same, or is it because you've had that experience of obviously meeting a few politicians, MPs themselves? Did that give you maybe a different perspective from what you read in the papers or what you hear on the TV when you're actually speaking to them in person?
Gosh. Not
was that a bit too much?
But I used to have a Tory MP in Kenilworth where I used to live. It was kind of a royal, used to be a royal area, Elizabeth I and all that stuff. It's a bit posh, a bit upmarket, or used to be. It's gone down a bit now. But yeah, the Tory MP and his mate, his agent, I went to see them once, and they're kind of glowering at me. Yeah, they really did not want to see me. They were not happy. And all I was doing is asking for an increase in the overseas aid budget or to maintain it, not to, that's all I was doing. It wasn't allowed. Lefty.
Oh, so you were one of those that were applying very necessary pressure that he did not want.
Exactly, yeah. They weren't keen.
You were a constituent that wanted things done, and you had a Conservative that did not want things done. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Safe choice. I've travelled quite a bit. I've had about I think about 6 MPs, maybe 8. I can't, not quite sure. And in all that time, I found that not one of them will actually answer my questions. If they do, it's a party response, stand off the shelf one, like the party did this or did that, whatever,
Yeah.
Or if they don't want to address it, as they don't, because I ask awkward questions sometimes, they just don't respond at all. Literally don't respond. I've had it several times.
Was that when you send a letter? Was that always when you sent written letters or emails or whatnot?
It used to be written letters, but mostly emails. Yeah, but I get they're busy people. I get that they get thousands of emails. Yeah, but they just don't respond at all. If they can't, if it's not on the menu, not on the party menu, they get no response. It's really quite shocking.
That's really frustrating, obviously.
I don't feel represented. I just don't feel like represented at all. Yeah.
Do you feel that? Given obviously, given what's happened over in particular over the last 14 years, and it's always been here in the UK. Obviously, it's always been between pretty much Labour and the Conservatives, pretty much Do you feel that both? How do you feel about both parties based on your based on the Conservatives and Labour? What's your view on? Let's start with the Conservatives first. Because obviously you've had a Conservative MP. You've tried to obviously. What's your view of the Conservative Party overall? In your view,
am I allowed to swear?
Yes, of course you can swear. This live stream is not monetized, so yeah. Anybody wants to donate any super chats or whatever, you're more than welcome to do so. So yes, you can swear. You can swear. You are welcome to do that. In fact, David McGuinness will endorse it. He loves it. No, you can. No, honestly, you can swear if you really want to.
I started my career in Kent, right? And I met some of these aristocratic types. Yeah. I tried to chat with a woman once. It turned out she was engaged, so there was no go. But she still invited me for dinner. I thought it'd be odd. Anyway, yeah, I went along, and she paid the taxi fare and all. Turns out, I knew she was an aristocrat family. I knew that. Anyway, I went for dinner, and I asked them which knife and fork do I use, all this kind of thing. It was like that, about 13 different bits of cutlery and the usual stuff, And they applied me question after question after question. So in the end, I politely asked them, am I here for your entertainment or something? And she said yes. I was there for their entertainment. She was honest enough to admit it, but what kind of people do that?
So they make you fill a bunch of questions just for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I get free dinner.
Yeah.
And but I turned it around and I told them off and basically pointed out a few home truths. I asked them. I took the opportunity to do some research, because I do research into human nature, especially power, politics, power groups, and it turns out they were on the bottom rung of the scale, which was £5 million at the time. This was 1980. £5 million, bottom rung of the aristocracy. And their culture, their school culture, the Eton, the Winchester, the Harrows, all those things. Well, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, are just toxic, utterly toxic. They've got the strangest culture. And I think I know why, because it's been there for so long. I've met people there who there was a woman who had a posh estate and a big house, and I went there for something, I can't remember why, but she was really pleased to be a direct descendant of William the Conqueror. And trying to point out it's also called William the Bastard. And that her property was actually inherited by theft. And she wasn't.
She did not take too kindly to those comments. Then
no. I'm not popular sometimes. Yeah, but their beliefs, they're just bonkers. I can't really put them to words sometimes. They don't do science. Some might do as an individual, but it's not on the menu really. Why would they? Don't need to. All they need to is get somebody into a safe seat in Parliament or a city job or somewhere in the newspaper industry. That's all they need to do. They're made. It really is quite a strange culture. And I went to Tunbridge Wells to find out where these people lived. The disappointed at Tunbridge Wells people who used to write into Radio 4 or whatever. It's really quite a strange culture. Really odd. It's all wealthy. It's all isolated. It's been there for centuries. Hasn't changed much. It's kind of evolved like Galapagos Islands. Separately. It's quite different. And they get into power. They're the ruling elite, which they still are. Of course, we let them get away with it. I think about half of all prime ministers have been from Eton. I think that's correct. Half.
A lot of them from Eton, or one or two from Oxford. I'm sure one or two in the chat will correct us. But pretty much the vast majority have been from private school.
But it's one single school. It's half. You know, it's just a ridiculous system. And they've got a monarchy which back you all up. You know, that's what the aristocracy depends on. So I want a republic and get rid of it all.
Yeah. Did you ever have any faith in the monarch at all, or you just felt that it was just because of the way the system is, that it was always felt unfair? Is that fair? Has it always been a system that you felt?
I think I always found it odd. I think I found the whole thing odd from an early age. I remember my dad. I asked my dad when I was 9 what this political system was about, and he said, "Oh, we have these people called MPs who represent us in Parliament." So fair enough. And they say then we have these parties. What are they for? I still can't work it out. What are they for? What are they for? I don't know. They just make obfuscate things and get in the way and have whips and coercive language and bollocks and bullshit. What are they for? What are they for? I do not get it. Even PR is the same. They still have parties. We just don't need them. I'm convinced of this. Just don't need them.
Would you, if the monarch, would you, if the monarch was not having, if the monarch had no political say, if it was separated from Parliament, separated, and it didn't have the powers that it had, and it didn't get the kind of wealth and funding, if it was similar to some other European models when it comes to their royals, would you be more acceptable with it if it didn't have the land that it has, the wealth that they get off the British taxpayer, and would you be more acceptable
possibly,
with a monarch?
Yeah. But my concern is the aristocracy. That's my concern. And as long as the monarchy exists, you've still got an aristocracy. So I want to get rid of the monarchy. Full stop. End of. And get rid of the aristocracy and start again.
You want a president? You want a president?
Yes. Well, we have to. You know, I don't. Combined with all this, we need a good, sound constitution. That's vital. It's just so weak at present. It's just appalling. You know, Julian Assange being tortured in prison, literally tortured, according to the UN people. You know?
Well, he's free now, obviously, but
he's free now. But, you know, years of being tortured.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what he did, he was being tortured, and that's just wrong, I think. Full stop. And then we had all this shit in the seas and shit in the rivers. Never stopped. Nobody ever charged. No police involved. Just and Johnson committing crimes in high office. Never charged. No police involved. No courts. Just Sunak not keeping records of his messages.
Yeah, the WhatsApp messages. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crap after crap after crap.
Yeah.
The whole system is utterly shambolic.
Yeah. Dave McGuinness, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. This message is more to you than to me. Swearing is mandatory on a live stream, says Dave McGuinness. So if he says you can swear, you can swear, Rich.
Okay,
thanks for that £2 super chat, David. Obviously, yes. I mean, there's absolutely no question. Obviously, like I've not been in politics all my life. Like I've talked about this before. Obviously, that I kind of, it was pretty much from 2012, 2014 when I really took some interest into it, but I wasn't really deep into it until after Brexit, until Brexit referendum really happened, and that's when I kind of came across it. But you were saying earlier, you said was Phil Morehouse like the first political YouTuber that you kind of came across online?
Yes, I think he was. Yeah. And then I joined the comment streams and found other people and went on from there.
Yeah.
And I also had a Twitter account, so I thought I'd use that and start posting videos. And I got followers on a kind of swap basis, but it's not a good account. It's not very popular.
To be fair, like Twitter is very hard sometimes to build up. Anyway, to be fair, so I wouldn't worry about it, because especially it's run by Elon Musk anyway. But yeah, it was pretty much from so you obviously took in quite a lot of knowledge, obviously from Phil. Like I myself, obviously, I do take in a lot of knowledge from him, and then that's when you discovered other YouTubers as well, like
sorry,
Robert Spear and several others as well along there, pretty much. And that's was there? Is it? Do you still take it in? Was you as you were obviously taking in knowledge of what YouTubers and that were saying about news and politics? Were you still paying attention to what newspapers were saying, or what anything on the telly was saying, or was you
not really. No. I decided to switch off with mainstream media in 2010.
Yeah.
Not enough. Yeah, I just didn't want to know anymore. It just wasn't any use to me at all. Never used to buy the Observer or Sunday Times. There's nothing in them. It's a waste of time. There's nothing appealed to us at all.
Did you ever read the papers, or did you?
Yeah, used to. Yeah, used to. I used to read a lot, but I'm good at reading now. Changed completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure
actually, why. Yeah, my parents they buy the eye. They like to listen. They like to read from the eye. And every now and then we'll buy if we see it in the shops, we'll pick up Byline Times to have a look at that. But it's quite it's very, very a lot of information. Obviously, you guys, obviously you can see it online, but obviously every now and then we don't buy it very often because it's $4.99. It's not cheap, but because they're not but Byline Times obviously are not like some of these outlets where they're run by a oligarch or anything like that. It's all funded, crowdfunded, all of it pretty much from people who are subscribers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But before Brexit, I was I think there was the only paper actually I think I used to read was the sometimes the Mirror and the Sun. I wasn't deep into politics, so I would sometimes look at politics. At the time I was into football, so I wasn't really paying much attention to them. I was more interested in what the back papers were saying at the time rather than anything in the fronts or whatever. But I would sometimes scroll through them and see. But if they can paint a very different picture to what the reality of what's happening in the real world. But yeah, I don't obviously read papers anymore either. But I would still every now and then like go to obviously I like to obviously look at various different newspapers and whatnot, like Guardian, Sky News. I know people have skepticism about the BBC, and rightfully so, but I still think it's an important broadcaster. It still sometimes has news that other broadcasters don't always have, even though they are biased, obviously, towards the Conservatives, and they have been for quite a long time.
I still check sources sometimes, not as much as I used to, not quite as rigorous, but I still do. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yeah, obviously I asked about Conservatives. How do you feel about Labour now with a Labour government? Do you feel that there may be? I wouldn't say there's going to be massive changes, but do you feel that there's going to be some positive steps with a Labour government as opposed to what we've had for the last 14 years?
Yes. Well, can't be worse, can they? Can't be worse.
That's the best way of putting it, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah, well, as people have pointed out, there have been some positive changes already. Yeah, that's good. But the long-term structural issues are still there.
Yeah.
And right now we have some anti-protest laws.
Yes.
Particularly anti-climate protest laws, which are utterly draconian. And Starmer seems to want them. And he's got a reputation of being authoritarian too. So I'm quite concerned about him, frankly. Given his massive majority and the power he's got, I'm quite concerned about him. So, and there's other things that need changing, like the Constitution, and there's a whole debate about PRs, all that stuff needs to be done, and the media. Yeah, big issue.
Yeah, you're obviously I don't know if you've seen. Obviously, there was the talk about the Leveson inquiry that they have no intention, obviously, of. It looks like there's speculations, obviously, that Murdoch basically gave Kiarostami's backing if they didn't press with the next set of Leveson inquiry. So,
Tony Blair met Murdoch at number 10.
Mm.
Soon after the election, Murdoch walked in. Soon after that, he got the Times.
Yeah.
And Starmer likes Tony Blair. I'm not happy about him. I don't like him at all. Don't trust the guy.
No.
Yeah.
I can.
Other people fine. Yeah. But him.
I think like this is the thing. Like the Murdoch Empire have such a. I think it's fair to say that they have such a grip on the British. I wouldn't say the British Well, yeah, I guess I could say the British public, to a certain extent, with the media that they control, them and other organizations. Because obviously, you have to have, if you want to have power, you have to have backing of some sorts of the media in order to get in. Because if you don't, you may end up like Corbyn did. Like Jeremy Corbyn did, and like I just think that when I look back at that 2019 general election, I think that he had some good policies, but I think the campaign on him about the anti-Semitism was the real killer blow for him. And even I was extremely put off by him and by the fact that he wouldn't address. I don't feel that he addressed it well enough.
Right.
I wasn't really interested in what the media was saying, but my criticism of him at the time was obviously the anti-Semitism. Obviously, I know everyone always knows it's always about the whole Brexit. The Brexit thing was obviously a big part of it as well. But
yeah, well, to me too. Yeah.
But did you think Jeremy Corbyn would have made the differences that you back in 2019 if he had gotten the nod, or do you have your reservations about him as well?
I have big reservations about him. He was standing on a kind of pro-Remain platform, and he wanted to leave.
Yeah.
It was utterly dishonest stance again from a leader, And maybe I'm too harsh, but I just think these really major issues difficult to forgive. Other issues, maybe, okay, he's fine, but big ones like this, why would he play that? Yeah, I don't like him. Maybe I'm puritanical. I have that kind of streak. I know I do. I'm quite. I have strong principles. I dare say.
Is there any politicians? Is there any politicians at the moment that you feel maybe? I know, you probably. Is there any politicians that you might find that seems to say some of the things that maybe are appealing to you, that maybe they seem okay, but you're not quite sure? Is there any you can think of, maybe?
Well, I actually like Jess Phillips.
Yeah,
she's got some fire in her belly.
To
be honest. And John McDonaldson was it John McDonaldson? Is it? He seemed quite honest as well.
John McDonald, one of the Labour MPs that lost his whip. Yeah.
He seems quite honest. So there are some good people around, and these some Tories could be have integrity but still be misguided. That's still true, but there aren't many.
Did you feel that there were? I was just going to say, was there any Tories that maybe had that integrity that really, like, that we had before, maybe before Boris Johnson? Like, did you think at all that some of those under David Cameron or Theresa May you felt maybe had that?
No, never.
No.
David Cameron is a scumbag.
Yep. I think the chat will agree with us on that.
He's the one who pulled this stupid referendum in the first place.
Yeah.
Under stupid circumstances. And Corbyn again, it's an advisory referendum, but Corbyn whipped the party, 3-line whip, to support the Leave withdrawal thing under May. Whipped the party, no discussion, no debate, do it. It was an appalling shit show. for democracy. Utterly appalling. You know, and worse, I was in Plymouth at the time.
Yeah.
And I went to a meeting soon afterwards. Basically, what do we do now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
With no plans, of course.
Yeah.
No plans. What are they? No plans. And there's people there who didn't have a clue what was going on. Really, didn't know what they even meant. Really, so don't in many cases. And there was two guys there in suits who were pushing for a hard exit at the time. This is just after the referendum.
Yeah.
And I was quite annoyed by this because, again, it's just utterly self-defeating, dangerous, damaging thing to do.
Yeah.
It turned out they're both actors from London, paid by somebody, I don't know who, to push this line. Yeah.
They were paid all the way to go there and basically play out like they're
yeah. Paid to push the hard exit line and get that conversation going. You know, what's going on in this country? I seriously think there's a kind of fascist takeover. I really do. You know, a bloodless coup. It's been that close. We might have got there yet. We've been damn close. Yeah. The stuff that goes on. It's appalling rubbish.
But I think the levels, especially the last couple of years, have been so high in terms of the scandals and the especially the last couple of years. Like a lot of things were, I would say, a lot of things were behind closed doors. People weren't talking about it enough in the first 6 to 8 years under David Cameron. There was obviously some scandals, but nothing on the levels or the heat that came when Boris Johnson came into power, I think.
No, but I think he started a lot. I can't remember the name of the guy now. There's one minister who was a naughty boy, some scandal, and Cameron let him stay on. He didn't need to resign, as the usual, doesn't do the decent thing, though, he carried on. I think Cameron started a lot. Yeah, I noticed that guy. It was quite unusual to let someone stay without resigning, without apologising. That was quite odd. I can't remember the name now, but I noted him at the time. It was quite unusual.
You think it started with it? Did you think the real, like, obviously? I mean, obviously the argument, obviously, some people will say that it goes as far back as Thatcher.
It goes further back, yes, it could do, yes.
Yeah,
but he kind of set the precedent of allowing these things to go on, you know, unpunished or whatever. It's quite a major scandal. I can't recall it was, but it's quite a big thing. Yeah.
I'm just going to read a couple of comments in the chat. Jal, one of our moderators, good to see you, buddy, saying, I do not want to sound like a pessimist, but I tend to see things as a pragmatic way. So when the government says we are going to do this, my question is, how much will it cost me? That's pretty solid question, really. I mean, that's the question that the Conservatives were not asked about when they were introducing things or whatever. But whenever Labour are in the opposition, they were always asked that question, and obviously they're going to be asked that question.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Conservatives were given that question enough about whether when they were introducing things like how much was it going to cost. On that one,
was the thing about cost too that people overlook. It really concerns me. You get this kind of model of having businesses and, you know, producing things and competing in the market and so forth, which is fine. That does work.
Yeah,
but it doesn't work in the sense of the costings not being fully accounted for.
Yeah.
So the pollution in particular, they just get away with it. Nobody ever held accountable for pollution. You know, you don't have to manufacture it. Okay, if you make, say, car engines, you may want to make them more efficient and cleaner because it's better to sell. True. But if you just dump plastic somewhere, who cares?
Yeah.
And the costing is not so much what will it cost me. It should be what does it already cost? What will it cost? What's the difference? What's the total cost, lifetime project cost? Compare like you like, and then you might get somewhere. But people don't do that.
But I think some people, when they hear a policy or something introduced, and there is a perception that people have about when we talk about taxes, for example, because taxes obviously, and you guys know here in the chat, and I'm sure you know as well, like taxes are a very important thing. They're a very good thing, and we need taxes, because without taxes, nothing works. We don't have our public services. We don't have our NHS, which is free at the point of use. There's a lot of things that taxes are so vital, but there's a perception that has been grown, I would say, in the general public, that taxes are bad and that taxes will do harm to people, and that taxes should always be cut and lowered and whatnot, because apparently the perception that it creates, the mindset it creates in people's minds, is that it takes money from their pockets, when in reality that their money is already being taken away because of the tax cuts, because they don't have the things that they used to have. They don't have the public libraries they used to have. They don't have the community centers they used to have. They don't have the police stations they used to have. I remember in my hometown where I was born and raised, they had a police station, they had a fire station, they had them all separate, and then obviously from 2010 onwards, when they did all their austerity, I think it was like 2012, a couple of years later, when I moved out of it, but the fire station went, the police station went, the job center moved in. They all moved into one hub. The local library that had been there for like 20, 30 plus years or something, that was gone. It was all put in one building instead, as a cost-cutting means. And they took away a lot of that, and even the community center that used to be in the town center, that was gone. It was never replaced, as far as I was aware. And this was happening everywhere.
Yeah, I know. Even legal services take twice or three times as long as they used to.
Yeah.
Everything is slowed down. Everything is used. I've been trying to get some local community services going, or some kind of activities. I've been trying for months now. There's nothing. Just nothing. There's no funding.
Yeah, everyone says there's no money left. This is what we hear all the time now. There's no money left.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've been thinking about this whole issue. The taxation. Yes, the mindset is that true. Well, I'm not sure how true this is, but we do obviously need taxation, and we do need to invest. But according to modern monetary theory, what we can do, and what we actually do in practice often, is simply create some money in a bank account somewhere, spend it, say on insulating houses, and if there's sufficient supply to meet the demand for building materials and builders and so forth, then no problem. If there's insufficient supply, then you get inflation, because you get more money chasing stuff and the prices go up, which is what normally happens with property, because there's not enough property built. And so if you pour money into the supply, the prices go up. But these MMT people say, well, okay, if that's the case, we now use taxation to regulate the inflation as a kind of a psychological trick or means to curtail people's desire to buy stuff or whatever. It's quite a different way of looking at things, and that's how you get UBI. You actually buy them. You make the money in the first place, investing in something, and one hopes inflation doesn't occur much. But on the other hand, the other point I want to make is mindset thinking, like you said, is the idea is like the Daily Mail and Express and say, well, how does it cost? How does it cost? How does it cost? And so forth, And they say, well, low taxes, low taxes, low taxes, low taxes. Yeah. But if you have low taxes, as you say, you get less money coming into the treasury. And the mindset thinking is, less money, therefore cut services. And the services get cut. But maybe you don't need to cut the services. You just pay the money. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's the kind of theory that goes around these days. And the whole mindset thinking is so critical because it's unscientific, a lot of it. People just don't know what they're doing. They don't make models of the economy. They don't do predictions. There are models, but not used. You know, and it's just a really, really clumsy way of managing our affairs.
Yeah, I do like, obviously, like taxation and whatnot. I'm no economist or has the, like, I'm still, like, when it comes to taxes and whatnot, I tend to avoid that topic a certain, like, understand, because I don't understand taxes that they're deep in it at all. But I do feel like there are ways of raising money without the needs of, obviously, austerity or increasing the debt, as has been pointed out many times.
The point is, the mantra of austerity and cutting stuff was always an ideological thing. It was never grounded in anything sensible.
Yeah.
It was always minimal government, minimal government, minimal government. Never define what minimal means. Just cut every time.
Yeah.
Purely on ideology grounds is utterly insane.
Yes.
Damaging.
It is. Well, they Kistama says, we're not going back to austerity. Okay, but we're going to be physically responsible. Okay, what does that mean? We're going to be physical responsible. Like, the thing is as well, like, we obviously had recently, to talk about the 2-child benefit cap, and obviously what the whole fiasco that happened with that, because it was a sort of amendment by the SNP, and I've talked about this in the video. I'm sure some of you guys may have seen the video that went out today, obviously, on it. But I think, it would be extremely a bit weird, but at the same time, also a bit of a facepalm if down the road and when they have their budget, Rachel Reeves announces the removal of the 2-child benefit cap, despite the fact that that the majority in the House want it gone, despite the fact that polling suggests that the public want it, even though that pretty much all of us here understand the premise of the 2-child benefit cap. But there is also, but the other thing is that, like we said, about the mindset are in the British public about certain things. And the mindset is that the 2-child benefit cap is, they don't want people like having 10 kids and obviously making a ton of money off it. That's kind of what the mindset that people have, because they've been, that's what they feel that there's come to be. Just before you answer that, Alistair Keir, thank you so much for being a member for 7 months. Much appreciate it. Sorry, I'll give you a chance, Richard. Just give me 1 second. Alistair Keir has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that. To One Angry Pagan, Simon says 55, Joel K, Everin Hume, and Doc Davis there. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted membership, Alistair Keir. Much appreciated, buddy. As well. Interesting comment from One Angry Pagan there. To be physically responsible does not mean austerity. That's true. That is true. Scott Dog, good to see you, buddy. We don't see you very, very often. Interesting thought experiment is to avoid thinking about money. Instead, think about the allocation of physical resources and people to make stuff and do things like healthcare.
Oh, too communist. Not allowed.
If I just wish, I just sometimes wish that politicians would try to simplify things rather than try to make things more complicated than they need be. I just think like they make things more difficult than they need to when it comes to some things. Jao also says. Sorry, go on.
Okay.
Jao says the elephant in the room, the structure of the UK state. A state is still structured around an empire that does not exist. How long till the extra fat is trimmed? Are you referring to the Commonwealth? I think is what he's referring to there.
Not quite sure. But yeah.
I think he's referring to the Commonwealth, and I think I think I have no problem with those detaching themselves from the UK. If I'm absolutely honest, if that is what they want, if that is what those nations want, they should be free to do so. Just like Scotland should, if the people want another independence referendum, they should be entitled to it. Like I always say, if that's what the people want, they should have that. I think it's a fair way as putting it. Let's just see.
Go to about this 2-child benefit cap thing.
Yeah,
I heard today that it might have been a party political maneuver because Labour want to reduce it, but not now because SNP reduced the idea.
Yes. Yeah, This is it's a bit of a weird thing because obviously, like, they want it gone, but they also need to show that they're means tested in terms of looking after the costs, and you don't have a cost-effective way of removing the 2-child benefit cap, or at least a proper way to show it. So that's why they're basically saying. That's probably why they're best saying like. Why they're saying not now, like we need to do it, but we need to show the British public that we are going to be physically responsible with the budget. Like we're not going to just go and splash out on things. But even though we, like myself and you and pretty much everyone in the chat, we know the damage that it's causing to the British public, we also know that we need to increase the birth rate in this country, because the birth rate is really bad at the moment as well, because it's hampering that, as well as obviously, what's it, 2.5 million chat, I think it's like, of children, or 3.5 million, I think it's like, children who are in poverty as a result of this cap, which is a major issue. Thank you for being a member for 5 months, One Angry Pagan. He says the time of the badger is near. All hail. Are you? When are you starting the Badger political party? Then you need to find a cool name for that. One Angry Pagan. I think you need a good political party name for the Badger name. Wow, we've talked a lot about this. Talked about quite a few things already. We've already gotten quite a few. Casper Nova, good to see you there. And anyone else who's popped in, I haven't said hello to. We haven't said hello to. Thanks for popping by. We appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about this. I do have some stories, obviously, but we'll see how things go. So I wanted to share. So you guys may have heard this story. I haven't talked about this yet, but obviously I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments about this. I'm using the wrong. Damn it! Hold on 1 second, guys. I'm using the wrong donut. I'm still learning to use. There we go. Is that the one? Is that better? Yeah, that was the one I was using. There we go. Yeah, sorry, I was using the wrong one. So you guys, I've obviously heard the story. It's not really less political, but more about outrage. So you guys heard about the incident at the Manchester airport. Some of you guys may have heard. A man was kicked in the head by the police officer at Manchester airport and has cysts on brains, the lawyer says. Greater Manchester Police, that's GMP, have confirmed an officer had been suspended in relation to the footage, which shows a suspect being kicked in the head and stomped on while he was lying on the ground. So obviously we talked a little bit about this yesterday on the live stream and Sweared and Ranted. I think first and foremost, I think it's good that he's been suspended at least. They know that the public was absolutely furious with the footage because apparently, obviously I'm going by what some people online and different articles were stating. Apparently they were trying to cover other people from filming as well. because they didn't want people to actually see the footage actually happen. They didn't want see the footage of what they were doing. They were trying to basically essentially hide it. But I just I've talked a lot on my channel, Richard, about the police and about how much trust has been broken with the police force. How do you feel about not just the Metropolitan Police, not just about this incident, but police in general? Here
it's been a long
England,
issue.
We'll say England in particular, specifically.
Yeah, it's been a long issue, decades. This has the mistrust in the police force has been decades building up. It's I kind of had this kind of notion when I was about 6 years old. The police force kind of good bobbies on the street and talk to you and all this kind of thing, which was some truth in it. It did, and still do now to some extent, I think. But it's much more cars, much more radios, much more technology. It's less personal, and you get laws like this cannabis law. I've been depressed most of my life, having experienced some kind of child abuse. It wasn't sexual, but it did bug me for life. And that's the only thing that helps me to get through the day. That's legal. And especially if I could go to a coffee shop and meet people, I'm much better off, but I can't. It's illegal. So this is a human rights issue as far as I'm concerned. And because that law is present, it kind of brings the other laws into dispute, where people think, well, this law is wrong. This stuff isn't bad. Why is the law wrong? Why is the law saying it's wrong? And so they may well, in that case, try other drugs, thinking they're okay, but they're not. Or they may well think the police are dumb and stupid and things, and when they're not, they just do their job, but the law's wrong. So and this has happened before. The law, there used to be a law against being homosexual. That was a really major issue in this country until the 50s and 60s. This is all frowned upon, and gays were not allowed to exist. And it really was quite appalling law. And the laws have been wrong before, they've been wrong again. They will be mistakes. It's just inevitable. And it's just all reduced mistakes. But the problem is they're not addressed, and they haven't been. Then you get build up pressure and they get resentment and so forth. And the police get angrier, and they have their own biases and their own cultures, and it gets developed to do kind of racism or whatever. And it really, the whole kind of group gang culture thing festers and festers and festers, gets worse and worse and worse until people actually tackle the issues that cause problems.
How do you feel about, as there's obviously the idea that I've always said about the police force is, rather than obviously reforming it, and that is literally dismantle the police force. In, let's say, for instance, that we dismantled the Metropolitan Police, hypothetically, but before we dismantle it, we build up a new one from scratch, completely new, and it's working joint, completely brand new from scratch, and working in cooperation with local councils, communities, and local government, and then a bit obviously with the government itself, and building it from scratch there with new training and all that. How would you feel about something like that being done while they build up this new force, completely separate from the police one, from the current one, while dismantling the old one? Obviously, if it's done right with those communities and local leaders and that involved, would you feel obviously it would be a cost, it would be what costed, but do you feel that because this is an idea that I haven't really had anyone really directly answer me on this question, how would you feel about if they did something like that, as opposed to just consistently trying to reform the police, which doesn't seem to work?
Okay. My first thought would that work? How would that work in practice if you got a kind of parallel police force? Which I think we mean. Would people get confused, and who would they turn to do emergencies and things? And I think you need a kind of unified organization to make things work. So I have my doubts about that, but yeah, we need to do something. Again, I think the overall longer term issue is education.
Yeah.
There are many cases, especially drug laws, where education is far more effective investment than policing will ever be. It's just in terms of yield or results for the money, far better to educate people. And there are so many gaps in our society. I'm just stunned by this. My child as such, my mum kept me at home for 5 years, met no children at all, and that just screwed me up entirely. She wasn't been unkind; she should have been overprotective, but it was a mistake. And it's because she wasn't taught parenting skills at her school. My dad wasn't either. Nobody was. They're still not. That's all I know. It's still that these people are going to be parents one day. There's a big assumption made that they learn how to be parents from their parents. It's all okay and all hunky dory. They all know how to do things properly and so forth. Big, massive assumption. Not true. We need parenting classes. We need classes in being self-aware, human nature, behavior. How this thing works, how you make decisions. We need to know this stuff. We need to know science, some basic science. We need to know government and democracy and all this stuff. We're just not taught it. It really is amazing to me because we're not taught so much, and it ruins so many lives.
There is one thing in education that I think is something that is not taught that I think is quite really important, and that is taught about finances, about money.
Yeah.
This was something that I wish I had learned when I was younger, because it would teach people the value of money at a younger age and how important it is to really make money with the value of money. But yeah, I mean, I think like we always focus on English, maths, and science and exercise, or some of the basics, shall we say, basics of education. But we don't look outside of that, shall we say? Obviously, we do teach. I mean, obviously, I remember when I was in school. Obviously, we would learn about religious. They would call it RE, religious education. Yes, that was it. And then you had your history. You had your history lessons. My teacher was, he was quite fanatic with the. But I remember he was quite fanatic about the wars and sort of thing. So he'd always do stuff about the wars. But it was mainly about but things that the British Empire did. But I don't recall too much about the negativity about the British Empire, which I think is a fundamental flaw with our society, because we don't refuse to accept what, like, yes, Churchill and the British Empire played a vital role in World War II and whatnot, and the Americans came over and helped save us from the Nazis and whatnot. But we don't talk about the dark history of the British Empire enough. We don't talk about the slave labor. We don't talk about the fact that Churchill took food away from India. We don't talk about that as well. There's a lot of dark history that the British Empire has done. Like, we are just responsible just as much as Belgium, Portugal, and France for what's happened in Africa, for example.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that's that kind of history. Like, you literally have to go out of your way to learn history. But sometimes, even if you go out of your way to learn history, you don't know how true it is, because you're not learning. Because sometimes it depends where you get the information from.
Yes.
Because the internet is such. Because I've said this before about the internet is a wild, wild west. We don't always know that what we read and how truthful it is. Like, because I don't know how do you go to any English heritage sites or like National Trust or anything like that, Richard?
Personally, hardly ever. No.
No, I mean, me and my partner have been to, like, we've been to a couple of English heritage sites. And even though they do talk about the history, like, they don't say like bad things about England in particular on some of these English heritage sites. I don't know if that's a bit of bias. I never go out of my way to look further into it.
Well, I think the whole empire is built on bird diplomacy. It was the Industrial Revolution. Got steam engines. We could build ships. We could go across the pond. Didn't need the wind anymore. Therefore, we could trade more often. Therefore, we needed more warships to protect the trade. And then we could grab all land because we had the warships, the gunboats, and all that stuff. It's all down to just bullying and theft and lying and stealing and cheating. I've struggled to find hardly anything at all good about the empire. Literally, I've tried. It's difficult. Any empire.
We took over the world. We took over the world, and we enslaved lots and lots of countries and communities and people. We exterminated a lot as well. Like you can't hide. Like it's. I think it's very important for us to accept our past and own up to it. And this is quite a contrast, I would say, to German education, which is why Germany, I think, are like, okay, they're not in a good place right now because obviously they've been relying on Russian gas and whatnot. But their education, it's in their DNA to learn about their past, to learn about what happened in World War I, World War II, and for their generations to learn about the mistakes of the past and to always learn from that and better themselves from it, because it teaches them that their society is not perfect, that we have made flaws, we have made mistakes, but it's about us being better than that. And I think that really, if we were to do that here, I think that would really help open people's eyes. I would think.
There's so much to be done. There's so much. It's just amazing. I don't know where to start, really.
There's quite a lot, to be fair. Wow, we've already gone an hour. I just wanted to ask you, are you happy to go a little bit longer? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. Because we did say we were going to do an hour, but as long as Richard's happy for us to go a bit longer, we'll go a bit longer.
I'm quite happy. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So for us. So
nice to see you.
Yeah. Guys, feel free to ask any questions as well if you've got any questions at all. I mean, we did have some topics, but I think the conversations we're having is quite interesting, to say the least, obviously.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, education, obviously, like, what was it? Tony Blair always said, education was always something that, but I look back at my education, and I've talked about this before, about how, like, I didn't have the things weren't perfect for me. And I got expelled from school, ended up in a special needs school, and things did not go. I didn't have the smoothest of education, shall we say. But I still had a decent education in the end, I felt. Well, considering that I'm here now, so I've obviously done something right. But I feel like the last 14 years, I feel like the education system has gotten so much worse. And like you've said, like, education is the bedrock of everything. Because and I think even if whether you're young or old, any kind of education is always good for you. But I also think it's really good that the internet does have, in a way, a free internet, free education in itself. But it's a case about how much you can trust what you read and what you see and what you hear online as well.
Which in itself is better of being taught what to look for and check things, and other things to do.
How do you feel so I guess a question I want to put to you is, how do you feel the internet and more about social media, how do you feel it has changed your perspective on not just news and politics, but things in general, compared to obviously when you were younger, obviously things were different then. There wasn't the internet and whatnot, but now we do. How do you feel that's impacted not just maybe yourself, but how society is from your perspective?
Yeah, that's a tricky question.
Hmm.
I've often actually thank God for the internet. I've often done that.
Hmm.
It's been a lifesaver for me sometimes. Sometimes you do, and as you say, things to learn about and study and so forth. And in particular, I've seen a massive UFO when I was 14, so I've been studying UFO things ever since, and some are very dodgy, and some are interesting. But ever since I've been doing that, and I think also, but in terms of attention spans, I think there's a concern there. I think mine's changed over the years. I used to be pretty good at reading books for ages and then, but now I can't do it at all hardly. I don't know why that is, but I just do struggle. And I think it's well, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. It's mixed, So it's been useful. Social media isn't that social in practice. This is a rare example where it is, or could be, or is. Actually, thank you. But it's mixed. I'm not sure what to make it really.
I think so. I think the way I look at social media. So my first glimpse of social media myself was Facebook. It was the first time that was the first time I came into interact with social media. And it wasn't really something. I mean, obviously, my head was neck deep in video games for reference. Anybody knows, but that was where all my time was going at that age. But obviously, I joined Twitter in 2012 or 2014, something like that. But I didn't really I'm not as neck deep into Twitter back then as I am now, or as X as now people call it. But there's so many social media apps now. There's literally ones, and so many Facebook groups, so many communities, so many places that people can go, and it's very there's so many different. Everybody has their own groups now, sort of thing. That's become as a case of everybody kind of just. And maybe not enough of people willing to get round the table and talk to one another, and rather people are more keen to kind of stay in their own bubbles. I think that's a fair assessment. And I think social media has played a massive impact on that, with this what I would call mindset of people where their ideology or their politics or whatnot is stuck in one world without even a hint of looking any other way, because and it's being reinforced by social media, by certain Facebook groups, by certain YouTube channels, or by or by certain your circle of group that you consider obviously your friends and obviously once you're in that bubble, and once you get to know those people, it ends up becoming you're refusing to look on the outside of that bubble, and it's hard to kind of it's kind of hard to go out of that way, because I know obviously there are people who for example, we talk about because we are talking social media and media in general. When we talk about GB News and Talk TV, and we my mindset is obviously I don't feel that these media broadcasters in itself, in comparison to Sky News, the BBC, okay, they are BBC a bit more biased, but Sky News, Channel 4, I would say is a bit more fairer when it comes to when they feed us information, news, and whatnot's going on in the world. I don't feel a sense that I'm being manipulated a certain way by the narratives and the stories that they are painting to me. Some people may differ from that, but when I see that from GB News or Talk TV, I feel that they are trying to paint a certain narrative rather than actually tell me the story itself. And I think this is the same thing with newspapers, obviously, as well. What are we talking about? I don't know, Alpha. Well, I'm trying. I'm
social
trying
media.
to understand. Yeah, we're talking social media, really, and because the thing is, guys, like we all have these different bubbles and whatnot, and it's about like how often do we actually go out of our bubbles? How often do we actually go out of our way to listen to somebody's different or voice of opinion? Like I know, like obviously there are some people who listen to certain YouTubers and whatnot. I'm going to stop here because this comment makes a lot of sense. The internet was designed to sell us stuff, not spread ideas, says Billy Coaster. Well, unfortunately, that's also what it did, because it gave, yes, it did. It not only sold stuff, but it also made ideas as well. I mean, Amazon is literally born off the fact of the internet. You know, you can literally at a click of a button, you can get anything you want now off Amazon. That the internet is pretty much it's a like one thing I see a lot about is how internet is a money making machine. It is. You can literally if you find the right, it doesn't even have to be like a content creator. There's lots of ways you can make money just through the power of the internet. There's all sorts
I spent
of ways
years studying online marketing, trying to find the golden goose. It was all foolish then because I didn't have the drive to actually do anything. But it's interesting. Yeah, quite an education. Yeah. It can be done.
It can be, yeah.
There's one job from Brexit, which is to be an import-export agent.
That's a very good one, to be fair. That is a very good one.
If that floats your boat, you can do that. Get pretty good money.
Well, I know Labour are looking for lots of people with their whole border security command and all that kind of malarkey as well. I don't know how many of you guys are keen on that, to be fair. Yeah. Guys, if you have any questions or answers you want to put to us, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm just going to put that up there for now. If you guys want to put any, we'll go about another 10-15 minutes for you guys. Wanted to ask, obviously, I'll ask you, how do you feel? So we talked a little bit about British politics. I don't know how much attention you pay to American politics, Richard, but how do you feel about what's happening recently over there? Not just based on what you've heard from my channel, but what other people have been telling you. What's your feeling about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and America in itself? Do you feel the similarities to what you've been saying about British politics here? Do you feel similarities to it?
Yeah. It's a two-party system, loads of money sloshing about. Loads of money in America, tons.
But they're not a monarch.
No, that's true, but they've still got a two-party system.
Yeah,
and that's just bonkers. And the divisions are getting wider. To go between how and have-nots. Yeah. I actually went on holiday to the States in 1993 before I met Marion, and I was staying with families, hopping from place to place. Quite an interesting experience. But I don't know, it's such a different culture. They've all got dollar signs in their eyes, for one thing. All of them. They're all dollar signs. Literally everybody.
Well, that's their currency, Richard.
Oh yeah, but they think money all the time. All the time. Money. Advertising everywhere. God, that's awful.
It's in their DNA. It's in their DNA. Like I went to a hockey. I'll give you an example. I went to a hockey game quite a while ago because I have a relative that lives in America, and he took us to a hockey game, not a big one, like a low league one hockey game. And I remember seeing the shirts for a hockey shirt, and like, you guys thought football shirts are expensive? No. These were like Like we're talking more than $100 for some of these
hockey
players. And this is not like a top tier league or top tier a hockey team either. These are like a mid table sort of mid level sort of hockey game that we went to. I mean, we had a great time and everything. I think in the end we bought a hat from them, but it was like I think it was like $30-$50 or something for the hat, which was like it's just insane. But everything revolves around money, but it's embedded in America.
Yeah, I know. But it's different. But to go back to answer your question, I think Trump. I'm quite concerned about Ukraine. Because it's a war of attrition. Russia is still pounding away. They're still throwing men and materials at it. In the front, there are more bodies in there, and they're making some progress. It has to be said. The Ukrainians are fighting really tough, but they're still pushing. And if Trump gets in, what happens then? Yeah. And as for Biden, Harris seems quite impressive, actually. She's quite lively and spirited and seems to be well glued up to things, but quite what her views are, not sure. I've heard some odd things about her.
I will actually say I have to incline to agree about Kamala Harris, because even though we don't know a lot about her ourselves, the way obviously she's been portrayed ever since Biden stepped down and the campaign they've kind of shown, it really has painted Kamala like a real like a savior sort of imagery. And I mean, you have to call it what it is. It is propaganda for the Democrats of Kamala Harris, like, and it is quite powerful propaganda in comparison to Trump. When you look at what you're going to get from him, from his running mate JD Vance, it's quite clear between the difference is quite clear between the two. One of them is a former prosecutor, the other is a convicted felon.
How does that happen? You get people here like.
Do you vote for the criminal or do you vote for the prosecutor?
How does that happen? What a world,
This is a crazy world. I'm going to go for. I will come to your question a bit on my angry pagan. I just want to get this one here. So, why do most folk have crap internet, especially in the big cities? My internet is great and very cheap, but like BT, EE, Sky, PlushNet, and Virgin Media changed the earth for slow speeds. I can't answer that question. You have to ask your broadband provider for that question. No, in all seriousness, it varies. I'm now with a broadband called Community Fiber. Before it was with BT. I've also been with Virgin Media before as well. So it can. I know obviously one of the biggest gripes that I think a lot of people have is that why is there not internet across the whole of the UK? Why is it not in rural areas? And I think that's an issue that the government really needs to get a grip on. I don't know if there's anything more you want to add to that question, Richard. From Mad
Apparently, BT don't want to pay for it, and the government don't want to pay for it either. So that's what it boils down to.
Oh, there you go. So once again, money is always the issue there.
Pretty well.
One angry pagan asks, does Richard back my plush to half a pagan as seen as an equal and not as a joke? Richard.
Yeah. I've often thought myself of being pagan. If I'm going to choose a religion, that was it. Much more kind of nature spirits, being in nature, and having the idea of multiple deities and things is quite fun with
there
that.
you go, one angry pagan.
Could tell you honestly.
I
was talking about Ukraine earlier, and I mean, I've been studying quite a bit about the kind of various weapons and things, and all the news about funding and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one video got to me yesterday. It was from the Kiev Independent, and it was the use of sexual violence in warfare. And it's about this detective unit in Ukraine who were tracking down these Russian soldiers who rape women. You know, and there's one had a baby who was 5 months old. And, you know, the whole story is just utterly harrowing. You know, it's deliberate policy in many cases. I've heard that the Russian soldiers issue with Viagra.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's war, but God.
Yeah, I think I have not read that story yet. So if you want to send me a link to it, I don't know if you sent me a link already, and I haven't.
I don't
I'll have a look at it.
But I think we need to be kind of strong with this stuff, because we need to face up to all this shit that goes in the world, all the hell, all the evil. We have to. Somebody has to. You know, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, yesterday, I think it was, about this for community and building links and strengthening people and sharing things. I think we do need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to be put in place. I really would. I wanted to go to that party that Graham had for the election, but it is too late for me. I can't. I have to go to bed at 11 these days. I do.
Well, I would have. You know, it would have been. It would have been very good for me for the connections. If I went, but like I already kind of set in stone what I was going to do around the election time anyway. So, but what I'll probably do is if Robersby ever comes back to London, or if Graham comes down, obviously I'll keep an eye out the next Rejoin EU march. I might go and take part in that, maybe, because I know he and several other people obviously take part in that. So I might try and do that, because yeah, I do think that meeting up, obviously, and getting to know other people is obviously really, really important. But just on your point about Ukraine, you know, you talking about that, obviously it's just the same thing, obviously, that's happening in Gaza as well, which we obviously covered extensively yesterday. The damage.
What's Trump doing with that? Does he still support Israel?
So there was actually a story, or there was something that there was a. I think that I don't think something. I don't know how much change or pressure that is going to be applied. I honestly don't I don't see anything that's going to change as of right now. And the argument that the argument, I say that's the wrong word. The problem is that this British government, both Labour and the Conservatives, they're too embedded with Israel.
Yes.
So while I would say that Labour does understand, they also feel that they cannot go against Israel, which again they're going against their own morals and their own democratic beliefs by not highlighting and displeasing their anger more about what's happening within Gaza, because they don't want to upset the groups with the Israeli friends groups they have within Labour, for example, and the relationship that Britain has with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think that's the problem with it. And obviously, like, we all want the weapons to stop being sent. I got to find that tweet that I saw about it. But yeah, what do you? Well, I just have a quick look. What do you think about Labour's position on it? Like, do you think they're going to change something?
I don't know. No, I don't. They should, but I don't think they will.
No, I can't. I'll have to have a look tomorrow, guys, if I can find it. I'll I'll have a look tomorrow if I can find it. But the other conflict that I haven't been covering for a while as well, and I'm sure you've seen them. I don't know how much you look into it yourself. Is what's happening in Sudan?
Okay.
Or even yet in the civil war in Yemen. That one I think Sudan is a much harder one to talk about, and it's not because there's a lack, not just because, guys, there's a lack of stories. It's because a lot of media can't get into the country for fear of being shot. I don't know. I'm assuming it's worse there than Gaza. I can't comment. I can't say, but I do know that some journalists have tried, and they're not given their safe assurances if they go into the country to report on what's actually happening there.
Yeah, I haven't paid much attention to that area of the world, to be honest. Some, but not much, you know. And I'm pleased to do it. So,
yeah, it's that. Yeah, obviously there's that conflict. There's what's happening in Myanmar that's still happening. There's obviously the slow authoritarian of China's influence continuing in Hong Kong, which is obviously that's happening as well. I wish that I wish Britain hadn't given. I think it's just I wish Britain hadn't signed that agreement with China and Hong Kong. I really do wish they hadn't agreed to that. I just feel like there will come a point where China will just swallow it whole, and Hong Kong will just be a part of China.
Yeah, I like Tibet.
Yeah, and Tibet as well. It's part of the worlds that we don't talk a lot about, guys. But I think these are issues that are happening in the world that we don't talk about enough in general, and I think that's why I do talk about world news, because if I just talked about the UK news all the time, I probably wouldn't get the amount of people that I probably get watching. But I also feel like the title of my channel is obviously also the phrase "learning together," because we're always learning all the time about new stuff, wherever it is in the world. Like recently, I did a short video about one of Vietnam's high-ranking Vietnam general had passed away, and when I put that on TikTok, it got over 2,000 views. So, but there is something there. Billy Kershaw says we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, you guys, because we're coming up to near 1/2 past. 100,000 immigrants seem like a small price to pay. A lot of people to view the war like a computer game. Yeah, do seem to do it like that. You get that Call of Duty reference, the video game there, for referencing to wars. Yeah. Suzanne says a lot of stuff happening in the world that most have no idea about. That's true. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world that we don't know about. I try, guys, to cover as much as I can. But the thing is like I drop short videos every 6 hours. If I really wanted to, I could drop shorts every 3 hours for you guys. But the problem is, it would just be too much content. And I always feel like my channel does too much as it is. So that's the only reason. I could get you more stories if I really wanted to, guys. But it's just a bit too much. I mean, maybe I could, in theory, maybe, I don't know, do more on the TikTok, maybe. But yeah, something like that. Number 3, do you have plans to obviously we were saying before we went live, do you have any more stuff that you're going to be doing on your channel, or what was exactly your channel before we obviously wrap things up? Tell us a little bit about the channel a bit more, and what exactly was it specifically you were doing it on?
Well, I wasn't specifically doing it. It just means to actually do something.
Yeah.
Like I said, to actually, I thought, well, I'm retired, what do you do? It's just very the same point. Like,
yeah.
But I've been thinking about that. What I'll do with it, because I haven't actually seen for a long time. I think I'm moving towards geopolitics. Because I've long had an interest in military history and the kind of wargaming stuff that goes with that, and all the kind of power plays and all that stuff. And it's all to do with supplies, of oil and gold and whatever, coal, always about supplies. And having more stuff for yourself, bigger empires and all this rubbish. So I think it's important to actually consider that, and the world view of the climate, of course. That's a major concern of mine. For a long time, that has been a concern of mine. Decades. Just watching it.
I can't cover everything myself. So if you want to focus on some of those,
but other people do it already. I'm not sure what I can say, but maybe make key points. But there's people doing it already. I'm not sure what I can add really, but my concern is there. And,
well, if there's one advice I would like to say, like it doesn't matter what other people are doing; it's about what you do. So if you want to, just because someone else is doing it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do it yourself. So if you feel like you want to talk about something and put your views out there, do it. You don't. No one is saying that you can't do it. No one is saying that you can't express your opinion or anything like that. It's YouTube is a wild west. You know, the internet is a wild west. So
I think my take is more towards the mental aspects.
Yeah,
as why people do these things, why do they behave like this. It just blows me away sometimes.
Yeah,
you think homelessness, in my view, it's a barbaric practice. Actually barbaric, because you've got people who can't cope. I've been close myself. I've been close to being unable to cope myself in my 20s, my 30s, close to being homeless, and it just horrifies me. If you ever end up there being shat upon, spat upon, laughed at, pissed on, told you a job or something, not helped, you know, and it's worldwide. Why do people let this happen? You know, I know it costs money to house them, obviously, but what does it cost to not do it?
Yeah,
let this kind of stain on society occur day after day, year after year. What does that cost?
Yeah,
it's so sick.
I just want to put one last question for you before we wrap things up from Billy Kershaw asking you. Number 3, how do you maintain your focus for content?
I don't. I don't. These days, my focus used to be Brexit, but it's gone pretty much. Still there, of course, but still issues. But I'm still politics. There's still structures and processes and systems.
Yeah.
You know, and political science and anthropology and that's my kind of background, the science stuff. And right now, I'm getting more into kind of UFO things. There's a History Channel series called Skywalker Ranch in USA, and that's got some strange stuff going on. There's some scientists out there doing scientific things, strange stuff, and maybe I'll do more videos about that. But it's the politics, the lies, the deception, the dishonesty is just rife everywhere.
Yeah,
that's what really gets the lying. I just can't stand the liars.
Well, that's why many of them. There is a lot of lying, and that's why there's not just obviously journalists doing it, but YouTubers, political analysts, and commentators obviously calling it out as much as they possibly can, and that's what we've got to continue to do. But just because, Richard, there is always something that needs to be talked about, something that's not discussed, and even if, and just I want to make this clear to you here before we end, like, if you ever feel like just putting on a video and talking about something, just do it, because people want to hear different voices, different opinions, even if they fundamentally disagree. Like, I have subscribers for Reform, and I fundamentally disagree with their views, but they're still there, they still watch my content. But they won't come in the chat because they know that Mad Monk will come after them. For those who are wondering if they want to check it out, Mad Monk's put a link in the description if you want to check out Number 3's channel, if you want to check out some of his videos that he's done so far. Richard, I want to say a massive thank you for coming on, and I found this very interesting discussions, all sorts of things, guys. We went a bit all over the place, to be fair, but you know what? It's just, there isn't really a script sort of thing with these kind of things. Sometimes we just gotta just talk about whatever comes to our mind. So I hope you guys found it interesting. I want to say thank you to Alistair for gifting the memberships. I want to thank you for those who gave super chats as well. I really do appreciate it. So obviously just subscribe to number 3 and keep an eye out for whenever he drops a video. And you might find he might be talking about something that maybe you didn't know about before, because you never know, guys. You never know. So I would say
thank you everyone very much for watching and being here.
Yeah.
And
we're great.
And for the chats and REGANELITE, that was great, fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, number 3 will be lurking whenever he possibly can on the channel here, and he lurks in some of the other YouTube channels you guys have seen as well. Just before we head out, guys, just to remind you guys, tomorrow on my channel will be at 7 o'clock. Will be a premiere video of World News Round, and then on Saturday, if I get time, I will record a Regan's News Round for you guys. Another premiere video at Saturday at 8 p.m. If you guys want to join me on Saturday for with some of the usual guests for games nights, you're more than welcome to do so as well. And once again, Richard, thank you so much for giving up your time. Thank you guys for all your comments, for all your views, and take care. Have a great week, and we'll catch you guys whenever we possibly can. But just before I hit the before I hit the outro and try to click the end stream at the same time, guys, I'm just going to do the usual stuff. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, share this across social media if you haven't already, and subscribe to both our channels, because it really does help support us. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here on YouTube, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and we hope to catch you all very, very soon.
Bye. Bye.